Yes, yes, haha, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Jackson's bouncing, and you can watch it on YouTube.
It's nice.
Did you notice that I went back to the blue today?
Yeah, well, back on YouTube as always.
Right.
And
I got some complaints last night from some of the ladies up at Brio that I went away from the blue yesterday.
yeah.
And they tune in at 10:04.
Right.
And hope to see my baby blues brought out by whatever blue I'm wearing that day. And they felt like the black didn't accentuate these phenomenal eyes.
Yeah.
So I am bringing back full-on blue today for you, ladies.
Yeah, after about 3, maybe even 4 espresso martinis, you can get a little loose with the lips, and they're probably letting you know. I think in the back of their minds, though, they want to see the baby blue on YouTube, and then at Brio, they want to see the black. The black.
Oh,
outfit.
really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So I change up the outfits.
Yeah, I think, blue during the day, and then you go to a darker tone in the nighttime, maybe even a dark gray, like charcoal.
Okay.
Charcoal looks really good on you.
I like that. Thank you very much. I like that. Hey, the Cardinals are coming. Tra-la, tra-la. The Cardinals are coming. Tra-la, tra-la. Another win last night, Jackson. Do you believe and do you consider me to be a wizard for putting the wagers that I put in, because I'm going to be paid handsomely come October when the Cardinals win the National League Central?
Well, first of all, Tim, I think you're a wizard for many reasons.
Nice.
One of them just being the Cardinals bet you made, but so many reasons. Too many to name. We only have an hour. And do I believe? Yeah, I believe. I mean,
High
why
pitch.
not?
Anybody notice that? You see that? These are the reads we need to pick up when we're sitting at the table. Because I don't know what cards he has. I don't know. I can't see the cards.
Sure.
But all I can do is try to pick up either a physical or vocal tell. And right there, the octave got just like 6 higher.
See, this Cardinal baseball season has been so cyclical. Unfortunately, the cycles have been poor, very poor. Usually the offense isn't hitting and the pitching's doing well, or the pitching's doing well and the offense is doing well. But right now, they actually are firing on all cylinders.
Woot.
And so, I think that... Do I think that they're like Steven Matz is going to do this every day? No.
It's 2 straight starts, bruh.
But yes, I mean, this is a guy who has been good in his career. There's a reason he got paid $11 million. Now, should the Cardinals have done it in retrospect? Probably not, but hindsight's 20/20. He has been good before, so it's not out of the realm of possibility to say he can string together 2 good starts. Hey, maybe even 3 or 4. We'd love to see it. But if the starting pitching can be somewhat consistent, which relieves the bullpen a little bit, and the
Jack
offense...
Flaherty on the mound today, friends. Is this his last Cardinal start? You can text in 314-399-9646.
I would say it's plus 180. It's his final start.
Okay.
Minus 150.
Jackson's setting the numbers.
Minus 150. It isn't.
Okay.
That would be my number on that. But, if the offense is clearly the offense has the talent to be this good, it's not surprising the offense is doing it. It's somewhat surprising the starting pitching has looked good over this past week and change, and it's somewhat surprising the bullpen has. But hey, this is kind of the team that we all thought was going to be there at the beginning of the season. And so it's just coming in July. The end of July,
getting multiple texts here in the Air Comfort Service text line. Asking, I'll just read this one, but I've seen it now multiple times. Tim, did you hear the fast lane blame balloon party for every show being late yesterday happened during their last segment? That's from the 314. I think we have to hear that audio, do audio forensics, and maybe, just maybe, Jamie Rivers' music plays and he comes storming in here and has you pinned up against the wall, and everybody can watch it on YouTube. Mike
Ryder says grabbing the audio.
Yes!
That Rivers has some nerve.
God, I hope he's here.
I
saw him a couple days ago, and I said, were you here earlier today? Because Jackson was saying, I don't even know what topic we said, that you weren't scared. And he goes, where's Piddles? And I go, I assume he's in that little closet that they put him in.
Yeah, that's true.
He goes, I seriously going to come in. He goes, but then at the same time, if I did pin him up against the wall, somebody would complain about it because they'd see it on YouTube, and then it would turn into a whole thing. And I don't know if I really want to do that. I go, oh, yeah, that's probably a smart play. So we thought through how to handle Jay. And you look at it like there's no way he's pinning you up against the wall.
That's what I'm saying.
Now he's going to come in here and pin you up against the wall.
Some
YouTube
debate?
cancellation be damned.
Yeah, I'm not like a rag doll, 6'1". I'm not no little guy here.
You taking a shot?
No. Just saying. I'm not some.
Oh, now that you said just saying.
I'm not some shrimp. Like
You taking a shot?
but there's some nerds to say that we're the reason all the shows relate.
I'm just looking. It's like you're at a WWE event and you're like, I heard Stone Cold might be in the building tonight. You just wait.
He knows
Hear
better.
that glass break.
He knows better. I mean, he did say, I don't want you. He goes, I don't want to pin you up against the wall because I don't want you coming in with a hurt neck. And I said, maybe tomorrow I'll just come in a neck brace just and say,
litigate.
Jamie got
You're going to litigate.
Yeah, I think I could win.
So apparently we set the station back with our scheduling, and that played a role in BK and Ferrari being late, and then the fast lane being late. And they were still dealing with it, playing catch-up at 5:45 last night here on 101 ESPN.
I couldn't be sorrier. I went back there and talked to Anthony and Marshy Marsh and the aforementioned Jamie Rivers before their show, and there was no mention of any of that.
Well, maybe they weren't aware of how we had destroyed the clock earlier in the day.
Right, and I hope that's the case, because if they're going to not say it to me, but then say it on the air, what does that say for the integrity of the fast lane? 3 guys I love, by the way.
But you're calling out their integrity on the air in a stunning move.
I'm questioning it if they were aware of it when I was back there, shooting the breeze, talking about these Redbirds.
Okay, fair enough. You go back there and you educate them on the Cardinals?
I give them, my thoughts on their plan for the day.
Oh, is that right? When they're putting their show together.
Yeah. And I just encouragement, really. I'm a real glue guy around here.
No, I agree with that part.
I'm kind of.
You're the straw that stirs the drink. You're the Reggie Jackson 1970s 101 ESPN 2023s.
Kind of the Udonis Haslam. I'm on the roster, but I'm basically a coach.
Guys, I believe Little Piddles versus Big Rivers needs to be a charity boxing match. That's from the 714. Jackson, you interested in that?
This might surprise people, but I've never thrown a punch in my life. So,
I think that's really going to surprise people.
Yeah, so I don't know. I would need some training. I need about 6 months in the lab to get ready to fight a former NHL enforcer. But again, not scared. Just telling you what I need to do to get ready.
Okay, so you are going to consider it. You just need 6 months in the lab. Back to the lab again, yo.
Right, and I'll have to see what the purse is,
It's got to be worth your time.
Right,
Fair enough. We'll have the audio of the fast lane casting aspersions, candidly, of this award-winning 1-hour midday radio program. Oh, is it in?
Yeah, just give me a moment.
Mike Ryder.
Yeah, he's omnipresent.
I'm telling you. And then we also have the Lil Piddles Friday 6-shooter. And now there's a sponsorship on the Lil Piddles Friday 6-shooter. Businesses around St. Louis knew that if they wanted return on investment, they needed to invest in the Half and Half, the Sports Business Journal Review, and perhaps the crown jewel of these nitwit segments, the Lil Piddles Friday 6-shooter. And a business has, without question, jumped on board, and that business is the Angry Beaver, a cocktail lounge, a speakeasy even, in downtown St. Louis.
Yep. Stay tuned. August 1st, baby. That's when it's all going down. Get ready. Angry Beaver. They just know. We have the audio, by the way, of Jamie Rivers.
I understand.
Talking that smack.
I know. I've been doing this for a couple decades, baby. You're with one of the greats. Just let me get you home. The light's at the end of the tunnel. And then you can go out golfing.
Don't transition on me, baby.
Right, exactly.
No doubt.
I'll captain this ship.
Yeah, listen, I mean, the Friday 6-shooter, all the questions, it gets the people going.
Yesterday, on Monday, you endeared yourself to the audience by talking about how you were able to grind through 18 holes in warm conditions at Annbriar. I imagine you are playing today?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The weather's beautiful out there. Well, it's temperate. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like, not a cloud in the sky, but it's temperate.
Are you worried about your conditioning to be able to get through riding all 18 holes?
Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest, because now it's
because I think a guy who can ride 18 holes is ready to fight Jamie Rivers in a charity boxing match.
Yeah, like the Rocky montage of him running in a sweatsuit through Philadelphia? That's me riding in a car in Waterloo, Illinois. And then at the clubhouse, I do the whole little dance thing that Rocky does.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the audio. For the first time, we're hearing it. And Jackson has already contacted counsel to represent Balloon Party, LLC.
Marsh, what do we got for criticisms and compliments?
From the 636, in reference to your 2:03 time check from Clarkson Jewelers. These fast lane guys are never on time.
Well, Jamie, you want to take this one? Why are we never on time?
I don't know. What?
Why do we start the show at 2:03 instead of 2 o'clock?
Probably because the show before us goes too long.
There you go.
And it probably not even them. It probably starts back with the balloon party.
Probably.
I feel like sometimes Timmy Mack and Piddles, they get into a segment at about 10:58.
They do. All right, last segment of the show, 10:58.
Yeah, it was like, there was
We're
one
taking
time.
it up to 11.
It was
Yeah.
like 10:57, and they were talking about like Piddles hot takes or something. I was like, all right.
Wow, what? Yeah, good call on that. So sorry, not necessarily on us though.
Wow. Jackson, you have retained counsel, and it's the Piddles hot take segment that sets the station back.
Right, I would love to go into like a diatribe about how wrong they are and how these guys have no class, but yesterday we did start our last segment at 10:50.
And the most impressive part about it was, had I not glanced down at the desktop computer monitor in front of me, I would have been like, no, I got 10 minutes, I can go here. And I just go, holy crap, it's 10:59. I guess we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough but fair, I have to say. But it seems like they've been holding that information in. Like this is something they've wanted to say, and then yesterday was the opportunity to say it. So I'm gonna again question the integrity.
Wow. And Martian, you hang out.
Sometimes
Interesting. I feel like I picked
it's
up a
like
read.
bi-quarterly. It's like a bi-quarterly sesh. But they're always great, and everyone's invited. You know, it's not like
Oh, is that right?
It's not just
'Cause
like
I felt like Rockio's invited, but Tanner's not. That's the sense I got, and I feel like we're starting to see cliques develop here at the radio station.
It's not like-
and I don't think that's healthy for the room.
No, it's not. It's not like a play date where like only us two are like scheduling to hang. I think soccer game on. Hey, let's all go check it out. Sure, why not? Get some cold pops.
The first 15 minutes of Balloon Party is so annoying.
In what regard?
Yeah, I mean, you got to be more specific. There's a lot of options. It's a waste, I'm sorry,
Right, please.
of time. So I now turn on the radio for that hour.
Turn on the radio for that hour.
I just read what they put in the prompter.
Yeah.
All they do is talk about themselves.
As opposed to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I
is-
got about 2 decades of doing that.
Yeah.
And what is the name? And what's his name is so condescending.
Oh boy, yeah, that could be either of us.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my brand, but I didn't go to Ladue, so
Yeah,
either
that's
one of us
true.
is live. It's tough to listen to. I don't think this guy's in our demo, to be honest, just
Right.
kind of picking up reads.
It's tough, though.
Bring back Chris Kerber for that hour, please. Go F yourself, San Diego.
Oh, nice.
He was great last week. That's from Don Arling, realtor.
What's worse, ending a sentence with or like a long paragraph like that with or starting out with
I actually think the latter.
Yeah, it's really rough.
Yeah. The Cardinals played the Cubs last night.
Jordan Walker, get him in the lineup up higher, maybe in the third or fourth
I really
spot.
did notice last night when he was hitting eighth. I'm like, that's kind of surprising.
Right. I mean, a guy with power
But he
like that.
had been struggling in July, so I understand
Yeah.
in that sense. But Nolan Gorman had been struggling in June, and it's not like he dropped down to eighth.
No, he didn't.
Hell, I don't know. They're just winning ball games, Jackson.
Yeah.
And if you're interested, throw $100 on it, and guess what happens when they win their 12th World Championship?
We finna be rich.
$12,500 is what you will be paid for $100.
Yeah.
Now, when they win the National League pennant, you put 100 on that, you win $8,000. But the market has shifted substantially on the National League Central. It is now down to $1,200. So it was priced perhaps at its peak, $2,000 last week.
Yeah, I'd be
because the Cardinals are coming. Tra-la. Jack Flaherty on the mound today.
I'd be surprised. I mean, it's so much based on what's going to happen at the deadline, but I don't know if the odds are going to get any better than what they were just a few weeks ago before the All-Star break.
Well, last week when I saw it at 2,000, I'm like, I already got a couple units on it at plus 850 at 2,000, if I still believe.
Right. Why not? Like, just you can throw even a smaller number on it. But now, I don't know. Now I don't know if the value's there, so probably going to avoid that.
Jackson's going to avoid it. All right, fair enough. There it is. Hey, we have value because we have the Little Piddles Friday 6-shooter coming your way. We are already off the clock by 4 minutes. So maybe we'll have another one of those 1-minute final segments again today.
Yeah.
I have no idea what is in store for me on the sponsored Lil Piddles Friday 6-shooter. The business community in St. Louis, they gathered around and had a bidding war for the 6-shooter. and one company was lucky enough to have the liquidity to acquire it. And that's what we've got now for you. The Lil Piddles Friday 6-shooter, sponsored. Yeah, that's right.
What do you feel now, St. Louis? Can you feel me?
This Piddles. He's spreading his wings. This is Balloon Party, driven by Mung and St. Louis Acura and Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN and on 101 ESPN YouTube. Wow. Mention Piddles?
That's right.
I mean, if I walk into the Angry Beaver and I say, Piddles sent me, that is essentially the equivalent of a $5 bill.
That's absolutely right, Tim.
You are currency now.
Yep. Little Abe Lincoln is what they call me.
Little Lincoln.
Little Abe. Me and Daniel Day-Lewis.
What a moment. What a moment.
Right. This is like a real watershed moment, not only in my career, but in the history of St. Louis and the sports media landscape.
Right. Now, I agree. This will be on the timeline. Well, congratulations, Jackson. You are now worth $5.
Right. But compound that with the millions of listeners.
Right.
I'm very liquid. All right, let's do it.
The Lil Piddles Friday 6 shooter here on Munganess, St. Louis Acura and Alton Toyota's balloon party. Come on into the YouTube chat. Now, the water is really warm today. It's comfortable, though. It's comfortable.
Extremely comfortable.
I'm wearing a tank top.
Under that shirt that's protecting your baby blues.
That's correct. Accentuating.
Yeah, very cute. All right. This first question is something that I talked with Jamie Rivers about in the 101 ESPN Sports
This
office.
is before the litigation.
Yes, this was when they could have told us that our time management was poor when I was in their office yesterday.
Wow, now you're calling them cowards in addition to questioning their integrity. There's going to be a scrap here.
So the base of this, what led this conversation, the catalyst, I would say, was me asking or saying, do you have faith in the Cardinals front office to evaluate talent or develop talent in young players, because they've proven time and time again that can be somewhat of an issue for them. And he raised the point saying that, I think that's kind of a take that's like a narrative that isn't based totally in reality, because you look at guys like Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker, even Brendan Donovan, they've done a very good job of developing. So my question is, do you think it's somewhat of a dogmatic, is that a word? Dogma take. I'll call it dogmatic.
Just got a text that Angry Beaver canceled.
The Cardinals cannot develop talent and have bad evaluation of young players. There are certainly examples of the Cardinals losing out on young guys who flourish elsewhere, but they also have some guys raking here or have raked at the major league level. Do you think that is one of the most dogmatic takes that you've heard throughout this rough 2023 Cardinals campaign?
I don't know if the use of dogma is necessarily appropriate. And I love discussing dogma. Probably not on this particular show. This would be more Tim McKernan Show podcast land. But I would say what Jamie Rivers, I believe, and I don't want to speak for him.
Right. I'm not trying to say this was Jamie's take.
But perhaps false narrative is what he's saying. And maybe it's a false narrative.
Right.
I think the most legitimate criticisms of the current Cardinal administration, and whenever you would want to start your criticism, which for me would be 2016, I think the two that actually are most inaccurate is, and this will be incredibly unpopular, but obviously I'm not really here to be popular.
Sure.
But I'm here to be honest, is that they don't spend money. And I know that's Dwallet and the whole thing, but if anything, they have spent it so poorly that it has backed them into corners. And it's something I just want to drive home, and I want to keep pointing this out. In the last 12 years, if we go back to October, I guess probably December of 2011, they were trying to pay Albert Pujols something that would have been disastrous for the franchise. Now, I realize the last 3 months of last year were incredible, but the Cardinals would have been paying him for 12 through 21 in addition to 22, and you would not have gotten proper return on that. So they dodged a bullet. And they were going to spend more money than they've ever spent before on Albert Pujols. Then they were going to spend more money than they'd ever spent before on Jason Hayward. And Hayward chose to take less to go play on the north side of Chicago. And then they were going to spend more money than they've ever spent to get David Price. In addition to pick whichever contract you would like to pick, where you go, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. And there are a few over the last 5 years. Or I guess you go back to 2016 if you want to start with Fowler. Where you go, oh my God, or Mike Leake if you want to go back to that one, or Brett Cecil if you want to go to that one, or one of our newest friends of the feather, Wilson Contreras.
Right.
So with that all said, I feel like that is a false narrative, especially for the size of St. Louis relative to other markets in Major League Baseball. So then you have that. I would say another false narrative is that they don't develop talent. I think it has been their evaluation of the talent inside of the organization that they're willing to part with versus willing to keep. They have chosen the wrong guy they have developed. I think a fair one would be going outside the organization and bringing in pitching. That's been a debacle. And then also developing as of late, pitching. But I do feel like there are things that just become either message board or social media truths that just get repeated, and you know they're safe to say, and you're looking for a friend online because it hasn't worked out for you socially or personally or professionally, and you've crowded yourself around others who have the same lot in life, and they're going to like the take because it's safe. When in reality, if you look at it, it may not necessarily be what's going on. I would say the organization has spent money irresponsibly, Wilson Contreras being the most recent one that we can point to, and unnecessary and could be an albatross for the organization, considering you're going to be paying a guy who probably won't be playing catcher at 34, 35, 36, $18 million a year to be your catcher. And as Ben Frederickson revisited this morning in his column, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, that there are rumblings that they're going to revisit him and catcher again this offseason, a possible change of position. So you have that, but you can go to Dexter Fowler. And keep in mind, Dexter Fowler was signed after the Cardinals were proclaiming they had their outfield. And their outfield at that time, do you remember? Would you like to name those outfielders? I know I've put you to the test on this before.
Tommy Pham.
Yes.
Randall Grichuk.
Yes.
Steven Piscotty.
Very nice. Very nice. And that's how Fowler arrived, because those guys didn't work out. And why is Zach Gallen with the Diamondbacks via the Marlins? And why is Sandy Alcantara with the Marlins via the Cardinals?
Marcell Ozuna.
Marcell Ozuna. Why? Because those guys didn't work out, and then you were at the point where Dexter Fowler didn't work out as a leadoff hitter, and the outfield was not producing enough, so now you felt like I can meet a middle order hitter because the other three hadn't worked out. And so we keep going through this circle, and then it was Dylan Carlson who was going to be the guy. And Dylan Carlson at this point is being talked about like it's relatively safe to say he's on the trade block.
Right.
If not, he's going to be traded. Tyler O'Neill is expected to be traded. Yeah. Well, he was being talked about as a long-term solution. He was the starting center fielder 3 months ago. Dylan Carlson was the guy. And so then you look around and you go, well, they do develop guys. They just go to other organizations and have success. So I would say the choice that they have made on who to keep and who to let go would be the criticism, because you look at other players who were Cardinals going elsewhere and having success. But then you could say, well, they didn't develop here, and that's why they let them go. So I would understand where people are coming from with that criticism.
Yeah, it's kind of a chicken and egg discussion, but it leads perfectly into my next question, Tim, because we talk about young guys developing and then who is and who isn't on the trade block. A person I think shouldn't be is Brendan Donovan. To me, he's a guy who the Cardinals would regret moving. Where do you stand on possibly moving Brendan Donovan? The infield certainly, as we've talked about before, has a quote-unquote log jam. Where do you stand on Brendan Donovan possibly being moved to the deadline?
The tough thing on any of these conversations, really for me, with the exception of Wynn and Walker, is that it's what do you get in return?
Right, absolutely.
And so if for whatever reason a team is salivating and willing to give you, a major pitching solution for him, then that changes the tenure of the discussion. So I wouldn't operate on the premise of he is untradeable.
Right.
But yeah, what he is able to do, and keep in mind, he's not even able to play the field right now offensively, and the versatility he provides, along with Tommy Edman, would lead one to believe that he is somebody the Cardinals would not want to part ways with. But again, in order to get, you got to give. Sure. And so it just depends on what another team would be willing to give to get him. I don't know if he would be as attractive right now because there is no timetable, as John Denton reported, for him to be in the field.
Right.
And so anybody who would be acquiring him for the short-term use of being a contender in 2023 would be acquiring him essentially as a designated hitter because he can't throw. So from that standpoint, I don't know if that makes sense for an opposing team unless they're looking at it as a long-term investment and a potential versatile bat off the bench. But again, he can't, for the short term, play the field.
Yeah, I think that you obviously have to listen to any offer. You're a team who's fourth place in the NL Central right now. It's tough to be like, I don't know if we're going to take this guy off the field. But to me, Brendan Donovan's a guy, 26 years old, who can be just an absolute staple. He's versatile as all hell, and he's just a baseball player. Like, I don't know. Like, you have him and Tommy Edman, they very similar in their skill sets. I think if you have the option, you move Edman way before you move Donovan. And I know some people might not like that, but I think even to other teams, Edman is this like prototypical leadoff hitter with speed and versatility in the field. I think he might be, and the injury situation, he might be more attractive.
For the record, Derek Gould's reporting when he was in Seattle for the All-Star game is he spoke with other teams, not the Cardinals, and other teams were told that he was not available when they inquired about Tommy Edman. Now, that could have changed. I mean, that was a week ago, but that's Derek Gould's reporting on that.
And then the last Cardinal question I have in this Friday six-shooter, do you think over the next week or so we'll see the Cardinals showcase some of the guys who are candidates for being dealt, or do you think they'll put the best lineup to win in? Tyler O'Neill was in left field last night. Do you think a good week could significantly increase his value from the injury-riddled last 4 or 5 years and being called basically a loafer in the beginning of 2023? But now with this win streak, are you putting guys out there to showcase them for trade possibilities? Or are you trying to put the best lineup out there to win, or is it both?
The fact that Tyler O'Neill was in there last night, I think, answers the question.
Right. Simple as that.
It's a showcase.
Yeah.
It's a showcase. Now, I think it's probably a short-term showcase, and that, to me, opens and shuts the case. And also, he was hitting it at Jordan Walker. So, from that standpoint, I think they're trying to showcase him and hoping they can get by with it, because that is the goal, I believe, is to ensure that he is proving he is healthy and ideally performing, and then the Cardinals can move him within the next 10 days. Right. That's what I think will happen.
Yeah, and I think even more so than that, Jack Flaherty getting another start, that's the one that, like, doesn't confuse me necessarily, but it kind of shows, like, all right, because theoretically they could shut Flaherty down to the deadline and his value probably wouldn't change much. But him starting today makes me think maybe they do just want to go out there and win every day. And if Flaherty has another great outing, it only increases his value, and it maybe won't decrease it even if he has a bad outing. So, I don't know. I think it's interesting and something to look at for the next week or so.
All right, we will take a commercial break. We have the second half of the six-shooter sponsored by Jackson who?
The Angry Beaver. You mentioned Piddles, $5 off.
Wow.
Right by the ballpark. That's the
currency.
Ballpark.
It's absolute currency now. That's coming up here on the other side of our bottom of the hour break on Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN and on YouTube.
This is Action Jackson with a SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals win last night, extending that winning streak, beating the Cubs 7-2. The final, little afternoon baseball on the north side of Chicago today as they play the Cubs again. First pitch at 1:20. Jack Flaherty on the mound. And in Liverpool, over there in Great Britain, the Open leaderboard is as follows. Brian Harman in first place at 10 under. Jordan Spieth in second at 5 under. Tommy Fleetwood at 5 under. And Stuart Sink still hanging around at 4 under. That was another SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome back. Second half of Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Alton Toyota, live on 101 ESPN and on YouTube. The 101 ESPN channel, subscribe to it and enjoy the magic of viewing the radio program. Cardinal lineup out, Jackson, for today's day game in Chicago. Dylan Carlson, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado. Those are your top three. Mm-hmm. Then you go to Wilson Contreras DHing. Tyler O'Neill has moved up the lineup to 5th.
That answers my showcase question.
And Jordan Walker is up the lineup also, 6th.
Good.
And Paul DeYoung is batting 7th and playing short. Kisner behind the plate. And Jose Fermin will bat 9th and play second base.
Okay.
Jack Flaherty
On the bump. Yeah, it's just so frustrating because you hear that lineup, you're like, you know what that is? It's legitimately a good, like on paper, that's a good lineup. Like, this is not a team that should be double-digit games back. Like, this is not it. Like, it's frustrating. This season I just describe as frustrating, confusing, so odd.
But the Sunday Charge is underway. We're in the midst of another great Cardinal comeback. Isn't it fun to relive 2011? Hello again, everybody.
You are so talented, Tim.
That off.
Yeah, their post All-Star break record as a franchise is like jarring. Like, it's crazy how much better they get after the All-Star break. So this is honestly nothing new. But still, it's just like, where were you in April? Where were you in May? Where were you in June? Because sitting in July, playing the comeback game and having the deadline be like the determining factor of what you're going to do this season, it's frustrating. But again, I've been so lucky in my lifetime. This is the first time, at 25 years old, this is the first time I've truly ever seen something like this.
Yeah, the Cardinals have been competitive at the very least, and in it. I would say even in 2007, they're kind of in it, even though that wound up being a losing record season for every year since 2000. So maybe the streak can continue, but it's going to require continuing to win at a ridiculous pace. All right, Jackson, it is the Lil Piddles Friday 6-shooter presented by Angry Beaver. What do we have here for question number 4?
Well, a little sports media for you, Tim. We talked about it on TMA a little bit. Bob Kravitz wrote about his time at The Athletic, describing the culture at the web-only sports media platform as soul-sucking. What did you make of Kravitz's sentiment, and where do you think the state of print media stands?
Well, I want to say this in advance. First off, I would recognize that the vast majority of people in the audience probably aren't familiar with Bob Kravitz or what he wrote, but he was a writer for The Athletic. He was let go. He had been at the Indianapolis Star for a number of years, and The Athletic was cutting back. He was let go, and he wrote to the fact that the metric-driven did people click on your article? Did people subscribe because your article drove him up the wall? And he was coming off open heart surgery, and they demanded he drum up 400 new subscribers or he could lose his job. And that was during the pandemic as well. So he aired his grievances on his new Substack page. Now, I don't know the merit of what he wrote. We can attribute it to it, so it's not like we're going anonymous sources are saying he wrote it. I always live by this credo, Jackson, and that is, if you ever want to get dirt on somebody, talk to an ex-significant other or somebody who is an ex-employee, and you will probably get somebody you will find to complain.
No doubt.
So with that said, just in general, I would understand people wondering about the future of print. I don't know how anybody couldn't. And the way that people can get jobs now or keep jobs is by writing or saying hyperbolic things.
Right.
And by that I mean saying the most click generative thing, whether that be via radio show, podcast, or their writing. And that's what I would say to anybody who is consuming media and may be concerned about the impact of media on take whatever element of life you may be concerned about. And I would point to this, and it's something that strikes me as obvious, but for whatever reason may not necessarily be, but I suppose since I'm in it and have been in it for 25 years and went to Missouri Journalism School, just like any other business, it's profit-driven. Mm-hmm. And if profit is a byproduct of hyperbole, if profit is a byproduct of sensationalism, if profit is a byproduct of exaggeration, then that is what you are going to get. And so nuance is not going to necessarily produce clicks. Somebody tweeting something out, I understand some people say that the Cardinals should part ways with Dylan Carlson, but I think that there may be merit to keeping him, and here's why. I don't know how much engagement that's going to get.
Not grabby.
Dylan Carlson going could be the biggest mistake the Cardinal franchise ever makes.
Now we're talking.
And so so every week there's a new greatest thing or worst thing ever. But again, it's not limited to sports.
No.
It is a business that at the moment, and really for my entire career, but even more so now, is going to be top heavy as far as compensation goes. And so you have the scraps from the table for, the rest. And therefore, people will go and write things or say things that may get them rewarded with really nothing, because then you fill your belly and you just have to repeat the cycle. But what it leads to is misinformation to the public, and or people's reputations being destroyed in the process. So I'm really not a big fan of the whole thing, to be candid with you, Jackson.
Absolutely. And that was good analysis on your part. And that's exactly what I was looking for out of that question.
Good analysis?
Yeah. Moving on. 2 more questions to go. Pew, 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 pew. Today is officially Barbenheimer Day, a day where 2 blockbuster films, Oppenheimer and Barbie, with opposite tones, are coming out. A great day in cinema, no doubt. Over the 365-day, or some years 366, what is your best crossover day in sports? What's your favorite day where 2 sports are playing at the same time?
I was wondering where you were going with this.
Yeah, what's your favorite double feature sports kind of day? Because there's obviously days where all 4 major North American sports and college play at the same time. And also,
for me, I love that second Sunday in April with the Masters, because you have the Stanley Cup playoffs, you have the NBA playoffs, and the start of the baseball season, and you have the start of, at least you should have, the start of warm weather. That is my personal high.
Yeah.
The Masters, the NCAA tournament has wrapped up the weekend before, but the Stanley Cup playoffs are usually starting a couple nights later, and oftentimes the Cardinals are playing one of their first home games right around that time, or they have just played the home opener. And that is my sports euphoria. Now, I understand a lot of people love the fall, because if you are into baseball and the Cardinals are in the mix, you have October. First half of October in St. Louis is usually glorious weather. You have the start of the hockey season. You have college football. You have the NFL. You have the start of the association. And now this year, you're going to have the Dogs go and hoist the chalice. So that's going to be wonderful as well.
So, and I agree totally with you on the beginning of April, because that is a great time. It's almost all. The one I'm going to pick is a 1 year specific, and guess what? It has nothing to do with basketball, which I think.
World Cup?
No, it was in 2020. The Masters was played in November, and so you had college football and the NFL season on the same day as the Masters. That's just as good as it gets.
I didn't feel like it was really the Masters, so I didn't really.
I know it had no fans, and there was a lot of differences, obviously. But to watch,
total different golf course,
right? To watch, and to be honest, though, it was interesting to see that, because we never see that. You never see it played in the fall, so it was interesting in that regard. But like just seeing the Masters and then turning over and watching the NFL, I don't know, I really liked that. So that's my Barbenheimer.
There it is. Jackson is looking forward to seeing Barbie. He has already seen Oppenheimer, and you have officially given it a review of.
Good. Oppenheimer, like I said, it's a spectacle that all movie fans should go see.
Wow, what a critic's line. A spectacle all movie fans should go and see.
It's a sprawling epic.
Like in the Post-Dispatch in 1985, talking about a film.
My mom had been there at that time. No, it would have been a few years later she would have been there.
1989 then.
Yeah, I think she was there at that time.
All right, final segment of Balloon Party, and I think it's going to start before 10:59 today. So we're kind of peacocking around.
I really
here.
like my last question.
Oh,
so I'm looking
wow.
forward to
Deep
this.
tease coming up in the Angry Beaver. Lil Piddles, Friday six-shooter. This is Balloon Party, driven by Munganest, St. Louis Acura, and Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN and on YouTube on 101 ESPN. Jackson, we got to get right to it. I mean, it's 10:54. I'm pretty excited about that. That's going to give us 5 minutes to let our wings spread and fly like the eagles. What do we have on this final question for the newly sponsored Angry Beaver, Lil Piddles Friday 6-shooter? You're so bullish on this question.
I've written a lot of questions in my day, Tim. A lot. And
yes, you have, sir. Yes, you have.
And this one, to me, is the one that they'll remember me for. Mm-hmm. Might be the most thought-provoking question I've ever asked. And I want you to really think about it.
Okay.
In your opinion, what is more important to a great sandwich? A good sauce or good bread?
Wow.
I want everyone to really let that one marinate for a second. It's perfect, the Angry Beaver sponsor.
You can text in your answer, 314-399-9646.
When you think of all your favorite sandwiches out there, what to you is what makes it so special? Is it the bread or is it the sauce?
God, I don't know if I would call it the sauce, though.
Any type of spread, condiment.
Okay, well, then that's...
kind of the...
Then I'm going to go with the
lubricant.
latter. Then I'm going to go with the latter.
The bread.
No, I thought the latter was the sauce, but I just don't necessarily accept sauce per se.
Okay, the condiment, the spread, kind of. I'm gonna
say accoutrements.
Accoutrement, but then that could get into like lettuce, tomato. I'll say the lubricant, whatever is like making that sandwich not dry. Mm-hmm. So if that's a sauce or a spread, if it's cream cheese, God bless. I think that off the top of your head, you're gonna say sauce because it's so forward in your taste.
Mm-hmm,
When you bite into a sandwich, you're going to really taste it. But I think your subconscious, something that's not really active, is the bread. If a good sandwich is on bad bread, it's no good.
But how often do you get bad bread?
Oh, you can get some bad bread out there.
Good sauce can hide poor bread, 314.
That's a good point.
Good meat is 1, bread is 2, MIZ.
Nice.
Let's see. Oh, we got a mic drop from Stephen Wildwood, since I think your question isn't that good, actually. And we haven't played it? Look at the look on your face. That's the look on your face if the door swung open and Jamie Rivers walked in.
No, it would be my...
Stephen Wildwood has left a mic drop. I haven't had a chance to hear it. What do we have here?
Here we go.
Yeah, baby. 6 in a row. Here we go. Stop it! You beat a guy who was pitching out there with the matching glove and shoes. He might as well have been holding a purse. And Bowtie, get on the damn phone and get Ohtani. O'Neill went 1 for 2 last night. Trade his ass for Ohtani. And what's with these guys overseas? The Open? You're really that arrogant? We whooped your ass 250 years ago. We'll do it again. You call it the British Open. If it wasn't for us, you would be Germany. Tired of it.
Wow. So many things incorporated in one phone call. Geopolitical discussion, wonderful. World history, delightful. American history, fun. And also holding the Cardinals accountable for Shohei Ohtani not being here in exchange for Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question about would you trade O'Neill for Ohtani, but I chose the sandwich question.
You chose the sandwich question instead.
Because it's objectively better.
You've got so much credibility with me.
Yeah.
That I was like, I can't wait to hear this question. You really built it up. You're like the guy who folds the small blind in front of the big blind, and then after doing it 20 times, he raises one time. You go, I guess he's got to have it. You bait and switched me.
Mm-hmm. I think this was like, if maybe I've been disingenuous for our entire relationship because this is truly me. This question was an extension of me. This is like
the sandwich question.
Yeah, this is like my master's thesis.
And you believe it is bread?
No, I don't know where I stand on it. That's what's so.
Wow, what a great conclusion! What a payoff!
Flexing. It's because it's the dichotomy of like the sauce is so forward in your mind, but then if it's bad bread, it's no good. And I don't even think people eat a sandwich. They're like, oh, that bread was really good, but they know it was really good. Oh man, it's tough.
St. Louis Starter Packs, which for my money is the greatest Instagram account in St. Louis, and I don't even know what's in second place in comparison, had their best sandwich contest. Mm-hmm. Some people think you're responsible for that account.
Right.
Well, you're not giving off any read until you said I'm not. Right there was the tell.
Right, yeah, if you picked up on it. Very subtle.
And the winner, Gramophone.
That's a great sandwich.
LeGrand's. LeGrand's is where we went grocery shopping when I grew up.
It's a good.
Now it's known for its sandwiches, as it should be. I like the Legend, and I like the Mississippi Nights Club at Gramophone. You can't go wrong with either one.
The Legend is my favorite sandwich in St. Louis.
How about that?
and it's great bread.
But yet you still picked the gramophone when you released this
I
morning
know,
on
it's so crazy.
STL Starter Packs.
Another great place with great bread.
Time for us to shut it down. BK and Ferrario are up next. I'm sure they'll carry over the bread versus sauce discussion. And then the fast lane. And, they'll probably be served with our papers.
Right. I'm actually planning, like Seth Rogen and Pineapple Express. I'm going to, do a disguise and serve them right
You're
there.
going to serve them. I can't wait for you to walk in and serve them. That'll go well.
Right from the horse's mouth.
BK and Ferrario are up next. For Action Jackson, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been Balloon Party, driven by Munganess St. Louis Acura and Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN.